Good morning. It is 1st of November. Here's Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. And today we'll start with Orsted, the Danish wind power energy company. Opened 20% lower this morning with a huge loss. And we have to go back to the 2016 to see levels this low. You see around here there was some support around 271. In my previous update, you can also check out these levels. We are currently finding some support there, but there is risk further to the downside, and 230 to 20, which is the lowest level it traded back in June 2016. So it doesn't look too good for Orsted at the moment, and you can see this gap here this morning, and it will take at least a close of this to gain any kind of meaningful upside. So quite heavy there. Moving on to the S&P 500 that is testing almost the 4,200 yesterday. Could crawl a little bit higher towards the 200 moving average that's coming up here. But it is quite heavy, really, on the US markets. We have the Nasdaq 100 also bouncing, some resistance at 14,505. I think we could move a little bit higher towards that level, but pre-market we are a little bit lower. In Europe, not really much is going on, to be honest. The European markets, I think we could bounce a little bit, but we have EuroStoxx 50, 4,082 resistance. It needs to break above that. It touched this morning, but it needs to break above that for a test of the falling trend line. On DAX, also, we have some resistance here. We have a little bit of a mini gap, so to speak, and 14,980 is the key resistance. We could move up to there, but as you can see, it also fairly heavy on the DAX index. The AEX also a bit depressed. Still sideways dancing here, so not really much to say, but 710 to the downside, that is the key support. And then we have the falling trend line here, but it's not the most strong trend line. What is interesting is that the 55 is right on that trend line there. We have the Belgian market that has bounced quite nicely yesterday. Needs to break back above 33.78, and then it could actually get a move back up to 34.45, but I'm not quite sure we'll get there, but look out for this level. CAC 40 also bouncing, but it has some strong resistance here at 6,660. That should be observed, and that could be a bit of a struggle to get back above that. But if it does close above, well, then there could be further upside to 7,100. Finally, on the Swiss market, that opened above the exhaustion gap, as it could prove to be, at least on the short term, and above 10,448. There could be upside up to this gap area here, but I don't think we'll break that. But we could see it being tested here going into early November before the sellers will regain control. Euro dollar lost momentum yesterday after trading back above 106.35, got rejected at the 55 moving average, and you can see here it seems like it's really a resistance that should be kept an eye on, and it couldn't even get up to the 107 like last time. So it's very likely we will see a resume. The downtrend will resume if it takes out and this level here from the low here from 105.20 from a couple of days ago. Well, then I think we will see a test of the previous low here at 104.38, and very much also likely lower. Euro sterling couldn't hold up. When we were talking yesterday at the more or less the same time, it was above the 87.35, but it couldn't close above. So a bit of a setback should be expected down to around 86.50. before it might try again. EuroSwiss has been bounced really strongly after forming this very big bullish engulfing here. Currently testing the 786 retracement of the downtrend here. We are currently above the cloud, but I wouldn't put too much weight into it. What I want to see, I want to see a move above this level and above this cloud level over here for further upside. So I could easily see it retracing a little bit, but maybe the tide has turned a little bit, at least on the short term. And if we can see here on the weekly how strong a bounce it was. If it does take out 96 or these peaks here, 96 and 95. Well, then there could be further upside, but let's see. I'm not quite sure that will materialize. Cable really not doing much, just trading sideways, can't really find a direction. Whereas the dollar yen, it actually broke above the previous peak here, little peak here at 150.77 level, resuming uptrend, but it lacks momentum. It's just below the 2022 peak, just below 152. I think we will get up there. A little bit of a setback after the rally yesterday that reached the 150 plus level, which is the 138.2 projection. But you can see here on the weekly, there's some strong resistance around that level. If it does take it out and close above, well, then there is room to 155, 160. Euro yen currently back below the 159.76 resistance. Now it is a support, so we're back below. So we will see a lot of fighting going on there, I believe. But we are in an uptrend, and I think we will move higher. The Aussie yen 95.85 is really a struggle here for Aussie, and can't really get, well, we closed above, but we can't really get that momentum to push it higher. But I think it will come in coming days and weeks. We can see here on the weekly we are still in an uptrend, and there are indications that we are likely to push higher. Sterling yen, more or less the same, 183.90 resistance, also dancing around that level, but we need the RSI back above 60. Dollar Canada, let's have a look at Dollar Canada, moving higher, as you see after we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it broke above the falling trend line here. Now it's taking out this peak here, and I think we are actually on our way to 140 level, possibly higher. On the finally on the dollar index, currently testing the 106.57 resistance at the moment. If we get a close above, well, then there's room up to 107.90. We talked about it before, but this is the range that it should break out for any meaningful direction. A correction is looming in gold after moving higher to 2010 almost, and it seems like we have a setback. It was a very strong move just prior to the weekend, but now we are setting back a little bit, and it seems a little bit stressed, at least short term. We need to get these moving averages to catch up with the index, and that can happen in two ways. Market moving higher, they're moving higher, but not as a faster pace. But I think we will see a bit of correction down to around 1950, possibly down all the way to the 1933, which is the 38.2 retracement. However, we are in an uptrend. We are back. We are above the 1985 resistance. Now at the moment just a little bit below, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. If it retraces more, we are in an uptrend that could move higher in coming weeks and months. Contrary to that, we have silver that can't really catch up, losing steam just below the 23.78 resistance, and that's the one you should look out for, and 22.15 to the downside. If it takes out these levels, well, then we are back in a bearish trend again. Copper really struggling to close above the falling trend line here, and the 55 moving average can't really get that upside traction. It needs to move into bullish territory, and I think that will be the picture or the scenario for the next couple of weeks at least. You can also see we have the RSI still in a negative sentiment, so a little bit of a resistance there. On the energy side, massive sell-off in oil yesterday, where Brent finally took out the 61.8 retracement and the minor support at 86.68. Finding some support at the 100 moving average, just around the 786 retracement here. But the key support levels are down here around 83.44 and 81.78. However, what we can see, we are actually in a negative sentiment. So if it takes out these support levels there, well, then there could be a further downside for oil. So at the moment, it will take a little bit of effort to get back in bullish mode, and I don't see that, at least not the coming days. We have the WTI that closed yesterday below its key support at 81.50, also finding support at the 100 moving average, but we are below the cloud and we are in a bearish sentiment on the RS here, so there could be further downside to around 77.60 support level around that before we could see a nice bounce. Some movements in the gas market. We had the Dutch gas that was rejected a couple of days ago, back again below the 54.45, and there's some support here at 44.80. But what's really interesting is the nat gas on the US market. It is the 3.63 resistance level that it's really a strong resistance for nat gas. If it can close above, well, then there is much higher potential here above $4. Finally, on the 10-year US 10-year, well, it's basically just trading sideways between 4.80 and 5%, and I think that will continue at least until tonight when there is FOMC. All right, that's a long one today, but happy trading and have a nice day. Talk to you again tomorrow.